Hello everyone, this is yours truly, Fabriello, and welcome back to a new video. And this is going to be a list, which I always enjoy my lists. More specifically, a list of the games, retro games, that I want to play the most, and more specifically, the top 12 retro games I want to play the most. Just a few words before starting. Most of them are RPGs. What a shocker, I know. But there are a couple, literally a couple, which aren't. But hey, I don't need to justify my tastes. I like my RPGs. And as I said, these are retro games, so I try not to go like I try to don't go after the PS2 generations. Well, with maybe there are a couple of exceptions, but whatever. Most of them are retro games, and again, it's for one reason or the other, as I'll try to explain. I haven't played them. It's nothing transcendental. I mean, they're pretty obvious reasons if you think about it, as I will say, but. Hopefully will be interesting. So because I always wanted to do a sort of video like this, and also to explain why I haven't played certain games that once you hear them, you probably, as RPG fans, you probably be, you haven't played it? But I have my reasons, and you'll see. So let's start with number 12, which it's on the bottom of a list of this list for a simple reason. At number 12, we got Earthbound, or Mother 2, because I never played the Mother series since Earthbound was never released in Europe on the Super Nintendo, and let alone Mother and Mother 3. Now I know it's easier to access these games. Like, for example, if I own a Wii U, which I don't, I would play both Mother and like Earthbound Beginnings and Earthbounds. And Mother 3, I know there are ways to get it, but one thing at a time. I really want to play Earthbound, just for mostly to see what the hubbub is about with this game, because there is an entire cult dedicated to Earthbound, and I don't doubt that it's quite a unique RPG. I mean, now it's hailed as like the best RPG of all time, or almost there, and like, really? Because not having played it, I'm kind of skeptical for such like big statement, even though like, hey, it's totally possible. But of course, like, it's on the bottom of the list. So like, it's the easiest for me to play for the simple reason that obviously I'm gonna get this game on the 3DS. I'm not going to play this game on the Super Nintendo because I'll never ever spend that kind of money on a game. Never. Because it's ridiculous. No game is worth that kind of money. No matter, like, even if it's the best game ever made, nothing it's worth that kind of cash. Also because Earthbound, it's not rare. I mean, not at all. It's simply a highly priced collectible because of the big box and all of that. But I don't give a shit about that. Even though I love my physical games, I don't care in this case. The 3DS port of it will suffice. So number 12, Earthbound. And I think I'm probably going to play next year or something like this, because now I'm in one of those moods where I don't really need to play games every second of my time. Like, I'm kind of not dragging my feet because I'm really enjoying the game, but I'm currently playing Seven Dragon on the 3DS, and it's not that I'm constantly there with the 3DS on my hands. Sometimes, like, should I play the game or nah, let's watch a video on YouTube or something. It's one of those moments. At number 11, we got a non-RPG series, which for some reason I never get into, but because I never had the chance, and that is The Legacy of Kain, which is just like an action-adventure, like 3D games, for what I know. Especially, like, I'm not sure about the first one because I never saw images of like a Blood Omen, but I'm pretty sure it's going to be like Soul Reaver and those other games. But it is a pretty high regarded series, especially on the PS1. It was a big deal, and then it kind of faded away in the background during the PS2 generation, and that's about it. We haven't seen a Legacy of Kain game ever since. But I've heard a rumor that maybe it will return eventually, because it was, as I said, it was a big series back in the day. Like, as I said, Soul River was. I remember reading on PlayStation Magazine and other uh, video game magazines of that time that it was considered like one of the best of its kind. So we'll see. I've always been curious. As I said, like, it didn't happen because back then I couldn't buy games as often. I depended on my parents and the occasional like birthday gift or something, and there were priorities. I said I was really getting fanatical about RPGs, and while I looked at Soul River, I said, like, this looks like a very cool game, but maybe Parasite Eve 2 was about to be released. I was like, yeah, fuck Soul River, I need to play that. So, and it just passed, and then I keep forgetting about it. But now, like, the prices are good. It's not a very expensive game because it's not an RPG. It's because of course, like, RPGs are the ones that are really getting inflated, not this adventure game. I think it's like for £5 on the PS1, which I would prefer. Like, especially Soul River, I want to get that on the Dreamcast for some reason, but we'll see. It's I still need to buy and play Blood Omen to see if I like it. So, but at number 11 we got Legacy of Kain, the whole series. Number 10, we got an interesting one, because again, it's always the fact that it's back then on the PlayStation 1, I couldn't get all these RPGs, even though I really want to play this. Even back in the day, I was really intrigued by it, but it never happened, and that it's Legend of Legaia, which it's considered a classic on the PS1. The problem is that, again, now it's kind of expensive, not too much. I mean, I could buy it if I want. It's just like sometimes with these RPGs, just wait and wait to see that maybe there will be a sort of shift in the prices. I mean, this game, it's not, as I say, it's not too crazy expensive. Like on Amazon, it's like for £60, which it's not cheap, of course, considering it's an old PS1 game, but it's an old PS1 RPG with a cult following. It's a classic, thus the price. But maybe if I keep waiting, one day I'll see for £45, so I will be more willing to buy it, because I really want to get into the Legaia series. I own Legacy of Legaia 2 on the PS2. For some reason that was cheap. I found it in a shop in Bristol for like £7. While on the other hand, they also had Legaia 1 for 65, like behind glasses. Like those, it's a classic in this like sort of retro game store. They have all the shit everywhere, but then behind closed glasses they have like the RPGs and all of those naturally, and the prices are very different. I mean, I can find like Metal Gear Revengeance for like £2, but then like if I want to buy even like common RPGs like Final Fantasy VII, it's behind glass. But Legaia, as I said, I think it's a kind of a unique RPG. If I remember well, it might be wrong, correct me, but I think it's like a sort of martial art based JRPG, which it sounds very interesting, but again, I might be wrong. But always wanted to play, never had the chance. It will happen eventually. Again, the price, it's not exaggerated, but it's just a bit too much that it's made me dragging my feet in this case, because it should be a bit less, but again, it's a PS1 RPG. What can we do? So number 9, we got an interesting one, and simply because in this case, the completionist in me takes like forefront, and it's like I want to play every game in this series as much as possible, and then it's Grandia Extreme. Probably this is no one's favorite out of the Grandia series, but that's the thing. It's a game of the Grandia series. I absolutely love Grandia, so I need to play every game in that series, and I'm kind of there. I played almost all of them, with the exception of Parallel Trippers, but simply because that was just released only in Japan. But hey, I own it over there, including the box, strangely enough. But of course, the first Grandia, it's one of my favorite RPGs of all time. Grandia 2, it's like one of the best RPGs of its generation. And I really enjoyed Grandia 3, even though even back in the day I could tell the magic was not as like... The magic was there, but not as sparkly as the first two games, let's say. But I really enjoyed what I played, and I have a good story about Grandia 3. I might tell in another time. because like I was in this like house in the sea, like on close to the beach, with a couple of friends, and instead of going to the beach, we basically stayed with shut windows playing Grandia 3. It was sad and awesome at the same time. But Grandia Extreme, I mean, as I heard, it's again not as good as the other games, but it's still a Grandia game. And if it has, like it does, the battle system, and if the music is just as good as the others, I'm gonna love it. Whatever it is, I know it's more of a sort of Grandia dungeon crawler in a way, but always been very intrigued. But I think that both Extreme and 3 were not released in Europe. I might be wrong, but I think it is. I don't know, but Grandia Extreme at number 9. Definitely want to play it. At number 8, we got a very interesting one, and I don't. Again, it just hasn't happened because I'm lazy, but. Again, the prices aren't an issue with this one. I should buy it before it gets crazy expensive. And then it's the Galarians series. Again, probably this is no one's favorite, but this is one of the most intriguing survival horror series that I want to actually play, because it looks absolutely unique in terms of setting and story. It has a sort of creepiness with that sort of cyberpunk setting and storyline, and both the original game on the PS1 and the sequel Galarian Ash on the PS2. And I also know there is an anime, I think it's called Neon or something, but games first, of course. And it's just your also because I love PS1 PS2 era survival horror games. I absolutely love that, because like they're kind of all the same in the gameplay like departments, thus they are 10 controls. For I think Galerius is that way as well, though it has its unique combat system and all of that, but it looks like a sort of weird sci-fi-ish version of like Resident Evil, Dino Crisis, that sort of game, and always intrigued me so much, even back in the day. But again, it just didn't happen. I mean, now the game are both pretty cheap. I think Galarians, it's like £15. Galarian Ash is like 5, so I should just buy the games. But again, my PS1 and 2 are not here. When I go to Italy, it's not that, even though I love it, it's booting the PS1, it's not my first priority when I'm there. So that's the difficulty of being also a retro gamer with a PS4 and PS3 just seducing me and like say, play me. Because if I have like Nier Automata waiting, and I don't know if I'm going to drop Nier Automata to play Galarians, to be honest, even though I really, really want to play Galarians. But I'm pretty sure you can see the problem here. But definitely, these are the survival horror games I want to play the most, without a doubt, because they're so unique and so interesting. I remember like there was an excellent review by BioPhoenix, and when I saw it, I was like, oh yeah, of course, Galarians. I need to play these fucking games. So sometimes it will happen, both Galarians and Galarians Ash. I don't know when. I should just buy the game. They're not expensive, and I know when I'm going to buy, they're going to be £100 each if I keep waiting. But yeah. Number 7. This is an interesting one. This is another case of me really dragging my feet for multiple reasons. I mean, number 7, we got the Drakengard series. I loved Nier. I played Nier, loved it. And of course, I'm playing Nier Automata. It's amazing. And I want to play the Drakengard series because that's like from like it's the series that spawned Nier. Nier is a spin-off of Drakengard. 2 out of 3 games are on the PS2. That's kind of the first issue there, because from what I heard, it's not that they are actual masterpieces. I mean, it's a weird game. They have weird gameplays, for what I know. It's a mix between Dynasty Warriors and Ace Combat, basically, which is like, I was like, whoa. But again, I heard like, I mean, and the thing is, I own Drakengard 1 on the PS2. I should just boot it up. But again, I mean, it's kind of this weird game. I heard it's kind of a mess, though it has a good and interesting story, and I suppose that the music is just as good as the Nier one. I need to buy Drakengard 2, but again, it's not expensive, but it's getting there. I think last time I saw it was more than £30 for a PS2 game. But I first need to play Drakengard 1 to see if I like it before dropping the money. And of course, I really want to play Drakengard 3. For what I heard, like it's like one of the craziest like action RPG. Even though I heard it's very divisive in terms of people loving or hating it, but it looks so crazy that I have to try it. And I don't think it's too expensive on the PS3, so definitely want to play that and play a Zero. Killing the other Entoner sisters. But that's the thing again. I want to play the series. It's a sort of hoarder. I don't think it's necessary. I should just like get Drakengard 3 and have fun. But I'm very curious about it because just the lore in Nier, it's so excellent and so engrossing that I think Drakengard, it's kind of like that. Though it's probably going to be kind of hard getting into the combat system, but I don't know. Maybe I'm going to love it. Who knows? I'm just dragging my feet. I should just try and play Drakengard and see how it is. Because maybe I'll get into the story and ignore the maybe not perfect gameplay. Who knows? But because I have the first one, so I should just pull the trigger and try it and see what I think about it. But number 7, the Drakengard series. I really want to get into it simply because I love Nier so much. And number 6, now this is annoying, really, really annoying, because I want to play these games so much, but they're so expensive. And that's the Fire Emblem Radiance games. So Fire Emblem Path of Radiance on the GameCube and Fire Emblem Radiant Dawn on the Wii. But these stupid games are so expensive that it's annoying. Path of Radiance in particular, that's more than £100. I think last time I watched was like 125 or something, and the other it's between 80 and 90, it depends. Very expensive. I'm not going to drop that kind of cash on the games. I refuse to do it, so no Fire Emblem for me until the prices are going to go down. I think they're just going to go up like always. They never go down, especially this. I suppose they're like highly. There is like a strong market for this because rightly so. I mean, it's Fire Emblem. It's a fantastic series, probably the best strategy RPG series out there. And Radiant, like Path of Radiance, is kind of the first big Fire Emblem here in the West, even though not the first release here, because the 2 Game Boy Advance games were released first, like the Blazing Blades and the Sacred Stones. But in general, Fire Emblem games are expensive, but these 2 particularly, and Path of Radiance, more than all of them. But I really want to play because I know I'm going to love it, because I absolutely love Fire Emblem. But I'm not going to pay these stupid prices. Sorry. Number 5, we got another interesting one, and this is simply because this game was not available to me. And I know there are ways, but I don't want to. I want to play the real deal, but that is Chrono Cross. Since I like Chrono Trigger very much, I know this is not a proper sequel, but it's a sort of sequel. But I heard so many interesting things about it. Just the fact that it's so divisive as well, because some people actually hate Chrono Cross, but a lot, of course, love it because it looks like an amazing game. To me, it sounds like the most ambitious, or one of the most ambitious RPGs on the PlayStation 1, and that's one of the great things about PS1 RPGs and why it actually was the golden age of that genre. Because you got these ambitious games, I love that. Again, there's Chrono Cross, another one we're going to talk about soon. But even like starting from the most mainstream, like the Final Fantasies, they felt bigger than what they are today. I think it's crazy how special those RPGs felt back then. Well, today, I mean, there are very ambitious games, of course, but I don't know. For me, at least, it doesn't really feel the same way in a way. But that could be an interesting discussion. But definitely want to play Chrono Cross because I know like rather than travel through time, you travel through dimensions and stuff like that. Sounds so interesting. I heard a lot of the music and it's unbelievably good, so good. So I really want to play this game. I just have to figure a way how to do it. I should just import the PS1 copy of the game, I guess, because obviously, if those fuckers would just release it on the Vita, on PSN in Europe, but of course they never did, or at least I don't think so, because I would have it by now. That would be perfection. I don't need the physical copy. I'd be happy with the PSN one, and I'll import a Japanese one for next to nothing. That would be fine, but of course they'll never do it. The same for the next series. That's even a bit different. At number 4, we got the Xeno series. So let's say correctly, we got Xenogears and the Xenosaga trilogy. Xenogears, it's son of another sort of it's one of those games that actually has like cults basically behind it, and I think with this for good reasons. I never really read synopsis, or I simply just want to avoid any sort of spoilers. I just want to keep it fresh for whenever I'm going to play it, because I really want to play this game, because it's like hearing things like this video game, it's more than a game. People say it's almost like a sort of philosophy and stuff like that. It really intrigues me, as I said, like with these very ambitious games on the PS1. But of course, this game was not released in Europe, certainly not in Italy. And again, I'm sure there are ways, but I don't want to. Excuse me, I don't want to use emulators and stuff like that. It's just like I don't like it very much. But again, why it's not on PSN in Europe? I would buy day one. Damn it. Same with the Xenosaga trilogy. This is even better because they teased us. Those fuckers really teased us with this in Europe, because we got Xenosaga 2, and that's it. We never had 1 or 3. So we got the bad one and the middle one. So that's good job with publishing there, guys. I don't know, what were they thinking? At least just publish the first one, not the second one in a trilogy. It would be great to have the DS ports of the games, for example. I think it's just 1 and 2, though. But with Xenosaga, there are constant rumors that we might actually get the HD collection on PS4, and if that's the case, oh my god, I'm gonna buy that one. You can be sure of that. Because I always wanted to play Xenosaga. It looks so intriguing. It's like epic, pure sci-fi RPG. But again, it's the whole Xeno series. It's so fascinating because I've played most. I need to finish it. Again, it's like in this mood. I need to finish Xenoblade Chronicles on the 3DS, because I'm almost there. I'm close to the end. I did a bit too many side quests and get kind of burned on it. I'm just waiting to get back into for the final thrust. And I love it, of course. Obviously, it's a fantastic game. But I really, really, really want to play Xenogears and the 3 Xenosagas. So we'll see what happens there. I'm really hoping for that HD collection on the PS4 will be amazing. Amazing. Fingers crossed. Let's hope so. At number 2, oh my god, why don't we have this game? At number 2, it's Lunar 2: The Eternal Blue. This is really like I might say the PS1 RPG I want to play the most. I know it's also on the Sega CD, blah blah blah, but PS1 version I think is the best. And again, why didn't Game Arts release this game on some form other than the Sega CD or the PS1? Contrary to Lunar 1 is being re-released so many times on so many different consoles. It's weird. I don't understand what's the problem with Lunar 2. And again, they kind of teased this and basically said no when they actually, I think it was on Twitter or some website, an interview, and say we might be willing to port Lunar 2 in some form if there is request by the fans. Again, I know Lunar probably it's not Final Fantasy, it doesn't have billion of fans like salivating, but it's a very beloved series by RPG fans, and like I'm sure we will love a remake, a port of Lunar 2. Like, I don't understand why they didn't do it on the Vita, to be honest. They ported Lunar 1, the Silver Star story, on the PSP, Silver Star Harmony, played that, loved it. Fantastic port. Just, they should have done the same with Lunar 2, like Eternal Blue Harmony, I don't know. On the PSP, I would have loved that. HD on the Vita, there you go. That's a huge missed opportunity there. But again, the Vita numbers in the West are bad, so I think back in the day, Game Arts was very busy with the what they're called, the I don't remember the name. Those sort of MMO-ish kind of games. It's really bugging me. I got it on the tip of my tongue, but I cannot remember. But never mind. So there was this. They were working on these games, so probably that's what the priority stands instead of Lunar. But at least now they're bringing some Grandia HD remakes over, like I think on the Switch, which it's great. Actually, I'm very impressed. So number 3, Lunar 2 Eternal Blue. My God, I want to play this game so badly. Number 2, kind of obvious, but I have to mention this because what the fuck, the Legend of Heroes games were missing. Where are the Crossbow games? Because these are PSP games. I mean, this is the PSP. It's retro now, but why don't we have the Crossbow games? I don't understand. It's just Falcom being lazy here. I don't know what they were. Why we don't have them by now. They should just release these 2 games on PC. There you go, on Steam, like they did for Tres the Third. That was perfect. I mean, I understand now, I don't know, publishing the Evolution ports, it's ridiculous by now since the Vita is dead and no one gives a fuck about the Vita, but release those 2 on Steam. And I know, I've read somewhere that they actually have the PC ports of these games, I think for China. And they just need to translate them. I mean, fans will buy them like crazy. I mean, I would buy day one. I mean, there are legions of Trails fans are just waiting for the release of these games in English. And I know there are English ports of these circulating in the internet. I saw them. But I don't want that. I want the real deal. I'll patiently wait. And I'm thinking about something crazy now. Oh my, what's wrong with me? Because that's the thing, I own them on the PSP. I got the Japanese versions. Again, they were cheap as dirt. I think I spent £5 for each game. And I'm thinking about trying them on the PSP because the PSP is region free. So to play the Japanese games, because I found the script of Trails of Zero, Zero no Kiseki online, so I can just play the game with the Japanese text. I might do that, actually. I'm very, very tempted. And because of that, I'm thinking about replaying Trails in the Sky first chapter, but I have the Evolution port on the Vita. To play that, if I found the full text, I might do it, because these games are just so good. Because that's the thing. I've heard that Zero no Kiseki and Ao no Kiseki are amazing, even by Trails standards. So that's crazy good. So I don't know why Falcom is just dragging their asses so much. I heard, like, well, they don't really want to release PSP games. That's bullshit, because they released Trails the Third last year, or it was the last year. That's a PSP game, and it was amazing. It was so good on Steam. It's perfect. I mean, it would be even better to have them like digital on the Vita, other than Steam, but that's asking too much. I realize that, but bring those 2 games on Steam, Falcom. It's just printing money. It's not a risk. They just need to. I hope, because of course, honorable mention, I guess, to Treasure Cold Steel 3, of course, but that's not a retro game, and I'm sure that game will come. I think it will be released next year or something like that. That's guaranteed, because if they don't release in the West Treasure Cold Steel 3 and 4, well, I guess the Falcoms are just idiots there, but I hope they're smart and they'll just make a contract with whoever, Exceed, NIS, whatever, I don't care about that, for 4 games. The 2 crossbow games on PC, and of course Treasure Cold Steel 3 and 4 on PS4. That's what they should do if they're smart. If they don't, if they're not very smart, they just do the contract for the 2 Cold Steel games, of course, because there's more hype behind them. But people desperately want to play those 2 games. I mean, I desperately want to play Zero and Ao no Kiseki. And I'm willing to play the Japanese games with an English test because I'm sick and tired of waiting. So at number 2, the Legend of Heroes 7 duology. So Zero and Ao no Kiseki. And number 1, I mean, I kept coming to this game because this is one of the retro games I want to play the most. And surprisingly, in a way, even more than Legend of Heroes in a way. But because, especially when I was making this list, I was listening to the music in the background, so I said, oh, it has to be this. And that is Ys 4, The Dawn of Ys. For the simple reason that I absolutely love the Ys series, first and foremost. And I have the feeling that this might become my favorite Ys game. Because Ys 8 left a sour taste in my mouth. I liked it, but I wasn't that crazy about it. That's very personal, but it's a good game, obviously. And reading that Falcom is working on Ys 9, I was very happy about that. Even though I would love for them to release a remake of Ys 5, that would be great as well. But we'll see. But Dawn of Ys is absolutely the Ys game I want to play the most because I love the run and bump gameplay. That's, again, very personal. Some people can stand it. I freaking love it. It's my favorite Ys gameplay. The game looks absolutely gorgeous on the turbo graphics, and that's the problem. It's on the turbo graphics, and I think it was never released over here, actually, but only in Japan, because the TurboGrafx didn't do well at all. I mean, as I always say, I don't even know if that thing was released here in Europe. And it did bad in the States, North America. But so pictures, video, I just to tease myself more, I have like the soundtrack, which is awesome. And then technically I've played Ys 4. I played Memories of Celceta, but I know that each version, because there are 3 versions of Ys 4, are different in some light ways. I mean, Dawn of Ys, it's one thing, Mask of the Sun, it's another, and Celceta, it's yet another. I mean, nothing major, but there are apparently some differences in between the 3 games. But Ys 4, Dawn of Ys, definitely the Ys game I want to play the most, and the number 1 retro game I want to play the most. So there you have it. These are the top 12 retro games I want to play the most. Definitely let me know by comments or video responses if you're brave. What are some of your most the retro games that you really need to play, but for some reason there are some elements stopping you, and you feel that nature and like everything is against you. That's very dramatic, I know. But it feels like that. It feels like that. Like, for example, with those Legend of Heroes games, that's just fucking being lazy. Or the stupid prices or whatever. But I'm just rambling here. So, thanks so much for watching, guys. I'll see you next time. Take care.